Thank you very much and welcome. I thank you very much that I can be here and speak to you. As most of you, I'm not a historian, I'm an information scientist, and so my perspective will be another one. I will not have a look back, I will try to have a look forward and to show you some possible developments based on research about information science in the public sector. This is my agenda. I would not like to go very deep into it to save time. Probably to begin with my speech, we can differentiate between public administrations and private firms, and the governance of public administrations is another one than the one of private firms. Public administrations are complex and the more intertwined entities with a wide and complex range of tasks, a very wide task, as most of the enterprise do not have in the same manner than public administrations. Then we have also different levels of tasks and unequal to private enterprises. Private enterprises mostly are structured as well. We have strategic management, a tactical management, and an operational management. And I will go into deep differentiation for public administrations a bit later. It will not be a pyramid like this. I drew it as a circle to differentiate the different tasks in public administrations. Then we have also no concurrent players in the public sector. There are public innovation, or whenever innovation, it's probably linked to legal aspects. The management of administrational domain and unit is a specific and silo-oriented organization compared, for instance, to supply chains in the private sectors, with our networks and not in the same manner silos like in the public administration. What is the structure of the public administrations was one of my disturbing questions. I do not have the perfect answer on this question, but this is my driving question which drives me through my research. And how do political systems influence public administration structures of policy making and policy enforcement entities, and what kind of consequences does this have in a very broad sense for the reference model of the public administration as I tried to develop it. We developed this model in a small project based on research in Austria, in Germany and in Switzerland, and we made qualitative research with interviews with heads of the public administration. The research questions, what is the way how public administrations work? It is one of the questions Thomas Gees formulated also this morning. It's not so easy to understand how public administrations work. And I worked 3 years for the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs as an IT controller. And I tried also during my time in the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to understand how public administration works. Until the end, I had an idea, but not the fully understanding of it. Is there, in a generalized way, a way to explain how public administration procedure work and what can be done to draw a big picture to demonstrate public administration information systems? This is based on my process model. Then I began to research also different research in domain models of public administrations. This is research done by Peristras et al. There is kind of funny thing that this modern research on domain models in the public administration is done by Greeks with their actual state of the state as we know it in the past 3 or 5 years. You see there are different kind of models. We have object-oriented models, they differentiated object-oriented models, process-oriented models, and holistic perspective-oriented models. I will not go too deep into all the different models. You can read this afterward in a paper, but I will try to describe 1 or 2 examples to show you a bit in which directions it goes. There is, for instance, among the process-oriented models, domain models, the SAP model. SAP a software provider who has a deep understanding of ERP tools for private-owned firms, and which tried to transfer this model also into public administration. You see here the categorization of the different kind of processes they supported, and you also realize that this process model of SAP supported mainly the supporting part of public administrations. Project management, human resource management, records management, also financial management, etc., all business supporting functions, etc. This was also the main topic of SAP, but not the primary processes of the administrations as we know it, for instance, on the municipality level or on the cantonal or state level. Another example of a model is the UK GCIM, object-oriented model. You see there the design of it with the service interaction in the middle. Service, subject as objects, identifier, location, evidence, outcome, rule, etc. as a simple model to design an object model of the public administration. It's a high-level information model for all activities undertaken by the public sector. Every public administration service is different, and the only way to enable the reuse of its components is to use an agreed reference structure. The analysts, system engineers, and domain experts share a common view of the domain through this kind of model, and each service development project can develop its own domain model, the classes, etc., etc. So this is an example of an object-oriented model. And then we have also another holistic model, which bases on the differentiation of formal politics on the one hand side, then on the administrative perspective, mainly the service side of the public administration, and also to the civil society. This is the model of Grönlund, which is also differentiated in the table on the left-hand side. At least the research was made by Peristras et al. They also designed their own model, which could also be described as a holistic model. And the holistic model of Peristras Terebanis bases on a governance system domain model, which formulating public policy part, the provide service part. Then we have the overall object model, I will present it afterwards, the overall process model also for the two domains, which is the basis for the research for a model of the public administration. You'll see there on the left-hand side also there are 5 model types they differentiated in their paper. This here is the object model. It's quite different from the first we saw from Grönlund. On the upper side, grammar, object, process, organizational subject, environment subject, administration function, objective, public service, instantiation of public service, type of public service, and public policy field. This leads me then to another model based on work of ECH. Probably I have to say something about ECH because the foreign guests probably do not know what it is. It's a group, a Verein in German, who is specialized on standardizing e-government on a semantical level, on a syntactical level, and from time to time also on an organizational level. For instance, the exchange of data between about citizen data from one system to the other, or we did also standardization efforts on process level. For instance, we introduced BPMN 2.0 as a generic standard for the public administration on the federal level to design processes in the public administration, etc. And according to this e-government architecture design models, etc., we also derived an e-government information model. I began to translate you some 2 or 3 of the objects. We have inside business object, identity, payment, bill, signature, charge, use case, resource, etc. And you have a lot of other objects linked, for instance, to records management, linked, for instance, to the transaction, linked, for instance, to the service requester and the service provider, etc. This was a model which was developed to design public administration information models, and this was also done to have a semantical connects between different systems and their objects to exchange data, for instance, between municipalities and states or the federal level. So this was also an effort in the standard ECH 0177. And then, based on these different models, I try now to describe my public administration process reference model, and will try to show you afterwards for what it can be used. On the one hand side, we have a primary differentiation of the legislative power, the judiciary power, and the executive authority, and we will focus in the following parts on the executive authority, which is the core public administration. Then we have secondary differentiation on the executive authority level in policy making, service delivery, supporting services, and strategic management of the different units, as we will see in the next slide then. The primary perspective is process-oriented view on public administrations, and the differentiation of the views regarding to federal level is a differentiation in different federal, state, and municipal levels, and differentiation of different regarding structures to these different levels. This is then the model. On the left-hand side, you find inputs into the model. On the right-hand side, the outputs. Probably it's not the full, probably there are not designed the full possibilities, but we can see that there are other nations, bilateral organizations, multilateral organizations, citizens, suppliers, etc., etc. On the other hand side, we have also citizen authorities, etc., which receive something of the public administration. Then we have the separation on the operational administration processes, which is service providing to citizens, for instance, and the upper part is the policy process, which we recognized somewhere on the slide of the Grönlund model and also of the model of Pereistras et al. Then in the middle we have a strong separation of a strategic management of policy making, secretaries of state, for instance, and we have also general secretaries responsible for operational administration and also for supporting processes in the background of the model. We should not miss the link or the concentric circle around for the interoperability between the different units, exchanging data towards policy processes or into policy processes and from policy processes to other policy processes and so on. I would like to differentiate now these different levels and perspectives or domains into, on the one hand side, this level of the policy making. This is the picture of the policy cycle, and we can differentiate here the normal policy phases in the process. For instance, policy initiation, policy evaluation, policy selection, policy improvement or implementation, evaluation, and termination. And this could be the grounding picture to depict how, for instance, an architecture for the policy making could be developed. We made it also in a separate article where we developed kind of a model to depict architectures for policy making. On the other hand side, we have the level of the servicing with procurement service processes, the transaction services, and the customer relations or citizen relations services. This could be called front office, back office, supplier interface. We have supporting processes, as described earlier, and we have the question, what kind of strategic process or management processes we have. I think compared to a private-owned firm, we can say that there is a strategic management, but it's more a strategic management of staffing, financing, budgeting, planning, etc., but not the guidance of the public administration as a whole, because I think this is much more dominated by legislation, the legislation process, which dominates also strategic management on the policy level. And normally we can also say that this model is different concerning the level, for instance, on the municipal level, the state level, or the federal level. On the federal level, we probably have a domination of policy making. On the servicing level, we have probably a domination on the municipal level, and it varies depending the policy domain in which we try to find out what differentiation of the diverse processes is. One interesting question, for instance, based on this model is discussion we now have in the Swiss federal environment. It's namely the differentiation of what is records management and where records management could be the primary task concerned to, for instance, process management. And I tried to differentiate this in the following manner, that I said records management could predominate the policy level because there are developed legal aspects, constitutions, etc., etc., political programs or policy programs, and so records management could have their dominating could be a dominating factor. There, while on the servicing level, on the municipal level, we have instruments as applications for the administration on the municipal level, and so there the records management is not so dominant as, for instance, in the policy making on the federal level. This could be one output of this model. Another very interesting topic we could discuss based on this model is, for instance, how we could structure front offices regarding or opposite to the back offices. And here we have interesting questions. For instance, a small municipality in Switzerland had a fusion between 8 different municipalities, Fraubrunnen in the canton of Bern, and afterwards they decided that every of the former municipalities get or have their own front office, and they concentrated back offices in the different municipalities, for instance, for the management of the inhabitants or the management of ground and buildings, building management, or the management of social affairs, etc. So there is a possibility to differentiate between, for instance, decentral front offices and centralized competence centers on a municipal level, for instance. So for me, this is an important fact to discuss in the future. Is there an alternative to the fusion of municipalities or states or cantons? And this could, for instance, be discussed on this model. But nevertheless, we need there new constitutional discussions. We need also new legal discussions to permit what technology makes since a long time with our administration, for instance, regarding to virtualization of front offices. One example I can give you there is in Germany we have the number 115, and the city of Dresden, for instance, Dresden outsourced this number 115. They do not provide this service themselves, and they collected all their data in a database, all the data which is necessary to inform the citizens of Dresden, gave the database to the 115 call center in Dortmund, and all the calls to Dresden concerning Dresden are now routed to Dortmund and are answered from Dortmund. This shows us this virtualization also of information, of communication, of consultancy, etc. towards citizens may be virtualized in the future, and probably it should be possible that when I'm working in Bern but living in Zurich, I should also have the possibility to have my relationship to the municipality in Bern during the time working here, and not taking one day free to have my municipal problems or services solved in Zurich, for instance. So this is also a kind of virtualization behind a website. You don't know who is responding your question, so it's probably also not necessary that the service has to be provided according to the responsibility principle at the place you live, but probably in another place than there where you live. So to conclude, why do we develop this model? This model gives us a better understanding first of public administrations. Naturally, it has a certain abstract level and is probably has some blind points going deeper into the administration. It's a possibility to motivate internal controls in different areas of public administration. We also heard about the failures of projects in the public administration in the past. Then to better manage public administration and to make the management more transparent, and to derive blueprints and general holistic enterprise architectures. Often I say to my students that for me, the development of public administration applications grew emergently, and there was no plan behind in the bigger sense. And with the intertwining of public administrations on different levels and on the different levels, it will be necessary to have a plan. This plan could be followed, for instance, by a blueprint, how it is demonstrated here, but it's not only a good thing for this, for a planned development of public administration applications. It's also a good thing, for instance, for open government data, linked data, etc., as a model to show how public administration works and where all the different kind of objects and subjects can be found, and that we all together have a common understanding of what a certain term means based on a model like the information models. We have also possibility to derive business resource capacities in the management model of public administrations through the model in relation to support by information systems. That's a very important thing for me because as an information scientist, we also try to find generic templates how a certain business can be supported by information systems, or in other words, to in German we say gestalten von Informationssystem. That means we try to find patterns of designing information systems, and such a model can help to have a blueprint to design these future information systems in different domains. To improve also business IT alignment through an easy to understand public administration model, and to define interoperability and transparency about what public administrations do. The possible usage, as said, in the semantic web domain, in the public administration and linked data domain, in the open government data domain, but also to demonstrate how citizen-centered linked data or linked personal data work, etc., etc. We tried then also to demonstrate how in a front office context compared to the core administration context, such a data model could be. And I also translated you some objects out of their knowledge structure, interface, medium, customer process service, environment, event. We have also organizational units, citizen relationship management processes, etc. as objects to design, to manage this newer part, which we do not know in full at the moment, how this front offices on a central or decentral basis could work. There's another possibility to model the services you provide in front office, for instance, and it's this kind of matrix. On the left-hand side, you have the services municipality, for instance, or a state is providing. On the upper side, you have all the contact points or mediums, the web, the mobile channel, the phone channel, or the front desk channel, and you have different kind of communication aspects through a transaction or in relation to a transaction. You have an information phase, you have a communication phase, a consulting phase, and consulting phase after the transaction. Here we have the transaction, and you can differentiate these different communication phases for every channel and for every service, and can then design what design behind the front office has to be defined to fulfill the communication aspects around the services. Normally, services are bundles of services, and it makes no sense in an e-government aspect to present one service alone, because the customer always has a bundle of services he needs and not one service alone he would like to transact on a platform, as for instance the web. And this is for me quite confusing, that public administrations normally try to demonstrate for one service or for one part of a service an electronic version, but not in a perspective where the customer is consulted or treated as a whole. So this makes public administration think in a completely other direction, to think public administrations from the perspective of the customer, not from the perspective of the public administration, because typically public administrations are organized towards their functional silos. And this will, in the future, drive the development of public administrations in another direction, where this citizen or customer perspective could drive the public administration to a new understanding of it. Which means that the costs, the transaction costs were mentioned before, the transaction costs for the citizen may be reduced due to the front offices, we realize, but the coordination costs inside the administration will decrease, and this means that information technology solutions would be one perspective to reduce these coordination costs, which now are the burden of the public administration and not of the citizen anymore. This as an idea how public administrations could be developed, also based on such a model on a pretty operational level. That's my outlook and my summary. The development of a domain model for public administrations with different usages and use cases, as I demonstrated, for instance, on the level of process management versus document management or records management, or on the level of front office versus back office, or on the differentiation of political policy-making units in the public administration and service management organizational units. We have also no single domain model that has yet predominated for administrative architectures, also not in Switzerland, except probably the ECH standards, but the ECH standards pretty much focus on the service providing part and not on the policy making or the support process part, so there is a lot of development to make in addition to what we have done until now in ECH. Then we have a discussion of the administration domain model still appearing to be in its infancy. We have also legal aspects and constitutional aspects we have to solve in the future concerning these possibilities of virtualization in public administration through technology. We have then also a discussion of application capabilities for a business process domain model for public administrations in the form of various perspectives for use, and the development of an appropriate reference model has been made much more difficult because of the unbelievable diversity of administrative conduct. This is one of the biggest problems also to bring all the knowledge together to support, for instance, these front offices in their work towards the customers or citizens and co-workers of enterprises. The own model and the GIA model can be used for a multitude of differentiations of architecture, structure, organization, etc. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.